2507 from Blake Elementary, if you'd like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. That was great. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Coyne.
Here.
Hilberg.
Yes. Here. Sorry.
Colasar.
Here.
Lamb.
Here.
Rose.
Here.
Shields.
Here.
Simpson.
Reading of the minutes.
Mr. President,
Mr. Shields.
I move that the minutes of the regular meeting of November 12, 2013, as prepared and submitted by the clerk, be approved.
Second.
Discussion. Clerk, please call the roll.
Hilberg.
Yes.
Colasar.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Coyne.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Reports of standing committees. The Finance Committee met prior to this meeting. We have one meeting left for this year. It's December 9th. We hope everybody can make it. Health, Safety, and Sanitation Committee, Mr. Rose.
Thank you, Mr. President. Nothing to report and no meeting scheduled.
Thank you. Public Properties Committee, Mr. Shields.
Thank you, Mr. President. Public Properties met last Thursday, November 21st. We had one item that we moved through finance that will be on the next council meeting agenda on 12/9 regarding new playground equipment for Fred Greenwood Park. No other meeting scheduled at this time.
Thank you. Special Legislation Committee, Mr. Lamb.
Thank you, Mr. President. No meeting scheduled, but I'm going to ask Kathy to try to schedule one meeting for discussion of public art and residential fences.
Thank you. Streets and Sidewalks Committee, Mr. Simpson. He's not here, and I don't believe he has anything scheduled. Water and Utilities Committee, Mr. Colzar.
Thank you, Mr. President. Water and Utilities had a meeting earlier before Finance, and we just went over projects 2013 and into 14.
Thank you. Next, we have requests for council action. We have several items for the Finance Committee. 13-221 budget amendments, 13-222 $500 carry over for flexible spending accounts, 13-223 authorizing payment over $3,000, 13-224 wildlife hazard assessment for the municipal airport, 13-225, I think I said 224 last time, contract with Cunningham and Associates Lake Road Phase 2, 13-226 amending ordinance 188-12 Ray Mellert splash pad, 13-227 2014 healthcare renewal, United Healthcare amending 13301, 13-228 purchase of two 2014 police interceptors for the police department, and 13-229 amending ordinance 102-13 reduced transfer by $221,000 from 513 to 546 water capital account. Reports of municipal officers. Mayor Hamwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just wanted to share with residents two different ways that they can pay their utility bills without necessarily coming in to visit if they choose not to. One is called ACH, Automatic Clearinghouse, where customers can sign up for the automated payment from their bank accounts. This helps to avoid late fees and mail charges. Application forms are available at our finance window. And then also online bill paying. Customers may apply or may also pay by credit card, and sign up is on the main page of the city website. The candlelight walk events took place this past weekend and went very well and were well attended with the weather that we kind of worked our way through, kind of cold and rainy at times. I'd like to thank the Main Street Medina Executive Director and Ed Wright, the chair of the board, are both here tonight, and the sponsors for making this such a successful event and drawing people to our downtown. The main sponsors for the Candlelight Walk were Root Candles, SUMA, the Crystal Clinic Orthopedic Center, and of course Main Street Medina. And then this Thursday, Thanksgiving, Hospice is having their annual fundraiser at Yours Truly restaurant. It's where they host a pancake and sausage breakfast at Yours Truly, which is 3725 Medina Road. And it's Thanksgiving morning from 7:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. And it includes all the pancakes you can eat and sausage, as well as drinks. All the food and labor is donated by different organizations and people, and all the money then goes to Hospice of Medina County. Mr. Shields and I will be serving at the 9:30 to 11:30 time slot. If you'd like to avoid that, you could go at the earlier stage. And again, there's no charge for the meal itself, just donations. And then the Medina Community Band Holiday Concert is going to be Sunday, December 15th at 2 p.m. at the Medina High Performing Arts Center, which is 851 Weymouth Road. Again, there's no charge. All are welcome. And we're blessed in this community to have a community band that's willing to bring their talent and performance to the community in many locations free of charge. And last but not least, I'd like to invite to the podium Acting Superintendent for Medina City Schools, Dave Knight, to share a story of a special young man.
Well, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Council. I'd like to introduce a special, good citizen of our community. And AJ Elders, could you come up, please? AJ doesn't know why I'm calling him up here, do you? Well, AJ wrote me a letter, and I'd like to give members of council a copy of this letter. And you know that schools are very important to our community. And we had a recent levy campaign where our community supported our schools. And AJ wrote me this letter. Come on over here a little closer. Postage due for 20 cents. So when I opened up that letter, postage due 20 cents, what's going to be in this letter? And I opened up the letter and I found AJ wanted to give to the campaign to help save Heritage Schools, Heritage School, and benefit Medina City Schools and our community. And he included $60 of his hard-earned money mowing grass, his allowances, and said, use this $60 however you would like. Now, Mayor, it isn't often when somebody makes a donation to us that we return it. But I would like to return Adam's $60. And when I think of the $60, $60 might buy a, $5 Proud to Be a Medina Bee sign. We could buy 12 of those signs. And we could have spent this money and bought 12 Proud to Be a Medina Bee and pass those signs out. But you really gave us a lot more. And I'd like to, if I could, Mayor, would you like to help me illustrate this? Come on up here. I have a coloring book for AJ. And this coloring book, when you think of what we do at school, it's important of how we think about things. And some people just look at this coloring book, oh, it's a coloring book. We color all the time. It's no big deal. But when you really think about coloring, it's really inspiring someone to think about being an artist, to think about expanding themselves. So, did you bring your crayons with you? Well, that's all right, because I have some crayons right here, and you've inspired me in this whole campaign process to work a little harder, to give a little more, and you've not inspired me, but you've inspired a lot of people in our community that if this sixth grader is willing to give of his savings to try to help our community, help Medina, help our schools, that is something very special. So I'm going to take these crayons, get a little bit of inspiration from AJ. We're going to color it all at once. There you go. That's what inspiration is all about. not just doing a little bit, but trying to inspire others around you to feel pride, excitement, and that's what you've done for our community. Provided a lot of pride and excitement, and you will benefit, your actions will benefit so many children of our community. We just want to say thank you. And I also have a educate, challenge, and the hardest part is inspire, and that's what you've done. So thank you. Here's a coloring book, your shirt, and I think Mayor Hanwell may have something for you also.
AJ, when your story was shared with the city by Mr. Shields and Mr. Knight, we thought it fitting to issue you a City of Medina proclamation. And I have that here, and I'm going to read it to you and present it to you. Whereas American public education serves as the foundation for a democratic society and collectively remains one of the most vital institutions providing America with productive citizens. And whereas our community recognizes that quality education is essential to the community well-being, and whereas Adam Ellers, a recent graduate of Heritage Elementary School, recognizes the importance of quality education and expressed that recognition through his recent monetary donation to Heritage Elementary School to save his school due to the possible budget cuts and closure of the building. And now, therefore, I, Dennis Hanwell, Mayor of the City of Medina, do hereby recognize Adam Ellers for his unselfish giving of his money to help save Heritage Elementary School from closing. In witness whereof, I have hereby set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Medina to be affixed this 18th day of November 2013. Congratulations and well done.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Congratulations. I think you've inspired us to do the same thing and maybe look at our budgets a little closer and work a little harder in that regard. So we appreciate your efforts in the community. Mr. Durham, Director of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. There are a few things on the agenda that originated in finance, and I'll address those when we get there.
Thank you, Mr. Huber, Law Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no report.
Thank you, Chief Baraducci. Police Chief. Thank you. Ms. Rice, Economic Development Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a couple notes for council and the public. The next City of Medina Economic Development Committee meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, December 3rd at 7:45 a.m. here at City Hall. We meet in the multi-purpose room. And then also the city, along with Main Street Medina and the Medina Chamber of Commerce, will be celebrating 6 ribbon cutting events coming up in December. They are scheduled as follows. On December 6th, we have Lager and Vine located at 108 Public Square on Friday at 2 p.m. And then also the Olive Tap that relocated to 31 Public Square from North Court Street, sort of a grand reopening for their new location at 3 o'clock. Then on December 13th, we have Holly's Ice Cream and Yogurt at 1065 North Court Street, Unit B at 10:30 a.m. And then we move up a little bit north to Romeo's Overtime Sports Grill at 1100 North Court Street, and that's under new ownership and a newly renovated business there. And just a note, the last time I went, the Browns actually won a football game that night, so just saying. Premier Accounting Services at 46 Public Square, Unit 200 above Posh Peacock will happen at 2 o'clock on December 13th. And Redamori Travel located at 754 North Court Street at 3:30. So please join us to welcome and congratulate these new and expanding businesses. And that's my report.
Thank you. Mr. Mendel, Planning and Community Development Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a couple items. I just wanted to say that, the Community Development Department, in particular the Building Department, worked well with Castle Noel to have them to get a temporary CO put together so that we could have that nice initial opening this past weekend. I think this is certainly going to be a great amenity and draw for downtown Medina. Additionally, today we issued a temporary CO for O'Reilly's Auto Parts on North Court. So that's another nice addition to the business community in the shopping area on North Court. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wright, Recreation Center Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a couple quick updates. The new program brochure will be available online Monday, December 2nd at www.medinarec.org. It will also be delivered in the post on Saturday, December 7th, and will be available at the facility on Sunday, December 8th. If you have not been to the rec in a while, please stop by and see the new field house floor. It was a long-awaited project, and we are glad to announce it is completed and looks amazing. We wanted to thank the public for their patience during this needed renovation. Also, just wanted to mention that this is the third straight year we will not be raising rates at the rec center on memberships. So stop in, take a tour, and see how low the rates really are for such a fantastic facility. And lastly, the next scheduled Rec Advisory Board meeting is December 19th at 7:30. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Patton, City Engineer.
Thank you, Mr. President. An update on a couple of our projects. The West Smith Road reconstruction project is nearly complete. If all goes well with weather and production, we expect the road will be open in both directions by the end of the week. If not the end of this week, then certainly early next week. And also just to note, the Highland Drive reconstruction project is to get started starting next Monday. All the residents and property owners along Highland Drive have been invited to a public meeting that will happen on Monday afternoon. Anybody has any questions, please feel free to call us. We'll be glad to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Piccoli, Service Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. The LEAF program is alive and well. The crews are continuing the leaf pickup. They currently are in Ward 3, which is the southeast quadrant of the city, and we will continue as long as the weather is conducive. So you can visit our website, www.medinaoh.org, for daily updates. Another item I'd like to comment on is I'm currently serving on a county advisory committee reviewing the solid waste processing of the county's trash. This committee is seeking public input on the current solid waste and recycling practices and its future direction. I would ask the residents and business owners to take a few minutes, if they would, and complete a survey in an effort to provide us with some additional comments and feedback. I believe this is an important topic, and also we would appreciate the attention from our public. Having said that, we are linking the survey to our website, www.medinaoh.org. Also, the county has a website, which is recyclemedinacounty.com. Again, that was recyclemedinacounty.com. Our finance department will also insert a communication to our city customers in the December water bill. And the reference will be surveymonkey.com. That's the facilitator of the survey. Also, I'd like to recognize Bob Duker from Chippewa Roofing and his crew. He's also known as the lighting guy. He was responsible for putting together the installation of our lights this past weekend in the previous year. Additionally, Frontier Communications for their assistance on some of the street trees. Street foreman Bill Davis, street employee Scott Pito, cemetery forestry employee Andre Go, and specifically Joe Grubus, our maintenance employee, who went above board in pulling things together in the last hour. And of course, Mr. Coyne, who's been talking about the LEDs on the square for the last 20 years. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Piccoli, and I'd be remiss not to thank you for all your efforts. It doesn't go on unappreciated, the time and hours that you put in to make sure that those light bulbs do light up. So we do appreciate that. Notices, communications, and petitions. We have one liquor permit not to object to a transfer of a D5 and D6 permit from T-Man LLC, doing business as 69 Taps, 1120 North Court Street, to Medina Tap House LLC, doing business as Medina Tap House, 1120 North Court Street and patio.
Move not to object.
Second.
Any discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Colasar.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Coyne.
Yes.
Hilberg.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Unfinished business, there's none. Introduction of visitors. Members of the public will be permitted the opportunity to speak on any issue or concern which pertains to the city during the portion of the council agenda devoted to introduction of visitors. All comments shall be directed to the chair, and a reasonable time limit of approximately 5 minutes will be imposed. If there is a group, please appoint a spokesperson. Speakers should approach the front right microphone and state their name and address so it can be entered into the minutes. Members of the public will be afforded the opportunity to comment on other portions of the meeting as determined by the chair or by a vote of the majority of council members present. Is there anybody that wishes to address council at this time? Yes.
Good evening. My name is Amy Barnes. I live at 314 East Washington Street. I am here tonight to speak for my family and our home, the historic Colonel H.G. Blake House, which is on the National Register of Historic Places, for playing a part in the Underground Railroad. 'Twas a cold wintry night with snow on the ground when fireworks started, to the delight of the crowd. We watched from the windows of our dear beloved home the fireworks light and their sparks start to roam. As we sat in our 1840s house that night, we found ourselves suddenly running, and running in fright. For, dear listeners, as some may well know, there was a little something extra to that night's fireworks show. As the crowd awed and oohed at the sparkling lights far up in the sky, we watched sparks fall round our home, my family and I. As a firestorm of embers flew down the street, sweeping through Jefferson and straight onto Smith, a shower of them took a slight turn to land in our yard and begin a small burn. Why, I exclaimed in total perplexion, would city officials think this was smart, giving so many fires a chance to start? But none live here on my corner. They were all safe and warm, while I struggled to fill a bucket with water and raced into the freezing night to save my home. People walked by, chatting over the wonderful fireworks show. Thank God for the snow, thank God for the protection from city officials' obvious obsession to have fireworks no matter the danger, no matter the cost, to possible life and property loss. All hail the fireworks, so much more important than the neighborhood's safety, the square's preservation, than the lives of my family, or the safety of my 173-year-old home, a part of the history of this fine nation. And thank God for the Medina City Fire Department, smarter than the firework planners, a department who sent men out to search and be scanners, to check for embers which tried to be fires. Was last year's incident not warning enough? When the roof of the parking garage caught fire from the same event's fireworks show? Are 2 warning shots not enough? Does our city really need to prove itself so very tough that flames are no threat to the square? After all, there would never be another fire there. As some may recall from history lessons, the square has burned down twice, despite human interventions. Don't tell me that precautions are taken, that worries are unfounded, and we are not forsaken. Just move the fireworks show next door to your house next year. Then you can tell me I have nothing to fear. Then you can face what you are asking from those who live near the square, to live through and take the dare of seeing whose house will be the first to go. Or instead of a home, perhaps JoJo's. If my plea is not enough, then think of this, dear officials. When the fire does happen, how will you explain your lack of learning from a history lesson? And so I share my small poem tonight with a plea, a begging for an understanding of plight. Please, I beseech you, and let history teach you. There is no way to promise or guarantee there won't be fire, number 3. Please stop the egotistical folly of the fireworks shooting off from the square, a combination of sparks, old timbers, and dry air. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. I think that's the most eloquent speech that we've had as far as telling us something we did wrong. But I do appreciate your time and effort in putting it into the form that you did. And we do understand, though, we do have these the fireworks that we did have on the square for the last 2 years, and there are houses close by, that we do try to take every precaution. As you said, it doesn't really help, but it was a little bit cold and windy that evening, and we appreciate you coming in and explaining to us what has occurred. Okay. Anybody else that wishes to address council? Okay. Introduction and consideration of ordinances and resolutions. We have ordinance 185-13, an ordinance amending section 3102E of the Salaries and Benefits Code of the City of Medina, Ohio, relative to the salary schedule for part-time employees of the City of Medina Community Recreation Center affected by the Ohio minimum wage increase.
Move to approve.
Second.
Mr. Wright?
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, that's just at the 2014 chart for our part-time salaried employees to compensate for the minimum wage change. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hilberg.
Yes.
Colasar.
Yes.
Ordinance 185-13 passes 6-0.
Ordinance 186-13, ordinance authorizing the payment of $30,000 to Main Street Medina for the city's 2014 membership renewal.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. President. I would respectfully request council's approval of this. 6 years, the city has been engaged in a collaborative partnership with Main Street Medina. We've seen the number of events grow. We've seen the attendance at the events grow. And we've seen the interest in people coming to Medina as a destination place grow, all in no small part to the work of Main Street Medina. The executive director, Matt Wiederholt, would also like to speak to council on the ordinance.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. President, Council, I just want to take a moment to say thank you very much for the support that you've given us in the past years. I also want to recognize a few other major donors who have pledged their support to Main Street Medina that have helped continue us grow and evolve and become a really strong organization. The Greater Medina Chamber of Commerce, Discount Drug Mart, Westfield Bank, Wakert Insurance, Miss Molly's Tea Room, World Truck Towing, Root Candles, Medina Community Design Committee, First Merit Bank, Washington Properties, Sandridge Food, and Medina Auto Parts have all been long-standing supporters of Main Street Medina, in addition to many other small businesses that contribute to our finances that help us put work back into the community. We've had a wonderful year of events and activities, and I'd like to thank our event sponsors, large and small, who collectively have donated over $40,000 to present these events on the square to the community. And then finally, I'd like to remind everyone to please shop locally and support locally owned and operated businesses this holiday season, and support those that support our community and give back each year. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any comments? Mr. Lamb?
Mr. President, I'd like to just add this one comment. Last week I had a group of, I think about 8 or 10 business people came to City Hall from New Philadelphia that I'd spoken to earlier, and they came to meet with us to talk about how we made this town the kind of town it is, and how these events came about, and how our economy is so stable, and how we promote business. And participating in that conversation was the chairman of the Main Street, which was Ed Wright, Mayor Hanwell, the president of the Medina Area Chamber of Commerce, Deborah Lynn Schmitz, and Roger Smalley for the CDC. And the folks that came from New Philadelphia were I guess the only word would be in awe. They were simply in awe of the what's been accomplished here and what we have in this community. And in large part, I think, it is about that relationship between those organizations that were there, the Chamber of Commerce, CDC, Main Street, and the City of Medina. But in no small part is Main Street Medina, because I think that this is the organization that helped us turn a corner and really achieve what we have all been working for here, in our own way, year after year after year after year. And to me, there's nothing more heartening than not only that relationship between organizations, but what has been accomplished with the City of Medina and Main Street that has become a reality in the downtown and on the square. It is an absolutely incredible thing, a super amazing number of events, and a lot of credit goes toward Matt Wiederholt, who is just an exceptional director and deserves a lot of credit for it. And I fully support our continued participation in this endeavor.
Thank you, Mr. Lamb. And I would agree. I think we're taking steps as a council and recognize the fact the efforts that Main Street and Medina has given to the City of Medina with the events and the number of people drawn to the square and to patronize the local businesses. And we're in the process of currently, as everybody knows, acquiring the old Key Bank drive-through building to convert that into public restrooms because of the need of public restrooms on the square because of the events that have been generated through Main Street Medina and the efforts of the local businesses in the city of Medina. So we do think that it's an effort well served and a goal that we'll continue to pursue with respect to the bringing Medina to the forefront of the Northeast Ohio and also the United States. So we do appreciate all the efforts. Any other comments?
Mr. President.
Mr. Colzar?
I'm going to keep it brief. I just want to say thank you to all of your hard work to keep Medina attractive and keep our uptown area strong. So thank you all for all your volunteer efforts and financial commitments as well.
Thank you. Anybody else? Clerk, please call the roll.
Rose?
Yes.
Shields?
Yes.
Coin?
Yes.
Hilberg?
Yes.
Colasar?
Yes.
Lamb?
Yes.
Ordinance 186-13 passes 6-0.
Resolution 187-13, a resolution of the Council of the City of Medina, Medina County, and the State of Ohio, certifying that when a municipal obligation was incurred, sums were lawfully appropriated and funds to satisfy the obligation, and sufficient sums currently exist to satisfy those obligations according to the attached sheets.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion?
Mr. President.
Mr. Shields?
Emergency clause has been requested. I move to add it at this time.
Second, adding the emergency clause.
Mr. Durham?
Thank you, Mr. President. This ordinance and the next two are these then and now certificates that we've talked about at the last couple of meetings. The first and last one deal with fire truck repairs. The middle one deals with some issues that came up during the installation of the Christmas lights. None of these were planned for because they really couldn't be foreseen, and that's why we need this approval to pay those.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll on the emergency clause.
Coin?
Yes.
Hilberg?
Yes.
Colasar?
Yes.
Lamb?
Yes.
Rose?
Yes.
Shields?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Any further discussion on the resolution? Clerk, please call the roll on the resolution.
Shields?
Yes.
Coin?
Yes.
Hilberg?
Yes.
Colasar?
Yes.
Lamb?
Yes.
Rose?
Yes.
Resolution 187-13 passes 6-0.
Resolution 188-13, a resolution of the Council of the City of Medina, Medina County, State of Ohio, certifying that when a municipal obligation was incurred, sums were lawfully appropriated in the funds to satisfy the obligation, and sufficient sums currently exist to satisfy this obligation according to the attached sheets.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion.
Mr. President.
Mr. Shields.
Emergency clause has been requested. I move to add it to this time.
Second, adding the emergency clause.
This is as Mr. Durham specified. Is there any discussion on the emergency clause? Clerk, please call the roll on the emergency clause.
Colasar?
Yes.
Lamb?
Yes.
Rose?
Yes.
Shields?
Yes.
Coin?
Yes.
Hilberg?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Any further discussion on the resolution? Clerk, please call the roll on the resolution.
Hilberg?
Yes.
Colasar?
Yes.
Lamb?
Yes.
Rose?
Yes.
Shields?
Yes.
Coin?
Yes.
Resolution 188-13 passes 6-0.
And Resolution 189-13, a resolution of the Council of the City of Medina, Medina County, and the State of Ohio, certifying that when a municipal obligation was incurred, sums were lawfully appropriated, and the funds to satisfy the obligation and sufficient sums currently exist to satisfy this obligation according to the attached sheets.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion.
Mr. President.
Mr. Shields.
Emergency clause has been requested. I move to add it this time.
Second, adding emergency clause.
This is the last item as Mr. Durham specified. Is there any discussion on the emergency clause? Clerk, please call the roll on the emergency clause.
Rose?
Yes.
Shields?
Yes.
Coin?
Yes.
Hilberg?
Yes.
Colasar?
Yes.
Lamb?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Any further discussion on the resolution? Clerk, please call the roll on the resolution.
Lamb?
Yes.
Rose?
Yes.
Shields?
Yes.
Coin?
Yes.
Hilberg?
Yes.
Colasar?
Yes.
Resolution 189-13 passes 6-0.
Ordinance 190-13, or ordinance amending section 13301 of the codified ordinances of the City of Medina, Ohio, relative to association memberships.
Move to approve.
Second.
Ms. Rice?
Thank you, Mr. President. This is to add the Ohio Economic Development Association to the approved list of memberships and associations for the city.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll on the ordinance.
Shields?
Yes.
Coin?
Yes.
Hilberg?
Yes.
Colasar?
Yes.
Lamb?
Yes.
Rose?
Yes.
Ordinance 190-13 passes 6-0.
Ordinance 191-13, ordinance amending ordinance number 101-01, passed July 9, 2013, relative to the joint operating agreement and lease agreement by and between the Board of Education of Medina City School District and the City of Medina, Ohio for Medina Recreation Center.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion.
Mr. President,
Mr. Shields.
because I'm employed by the school district, I'm going to need to abstain on this agreement.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Is there, Mr. Durham? I was wondering who over there was going to talk about it.
Thank you, Mr. President. When the joint operating agreement was entered into between the city and our partners on the rec center, there was a provision to take care of future capital needs. It ramped up over time, starting at $30,000 a year, and then now, after a couple of years, it went to $100,000 a year. So $100,000 a year each, us and our partners contributed to a capital fund that we each maintain separately, but then when capital projects are necessary, we have that cash available from those contributions to handle those projects. As it turns out, a couple of the earlier payments were not made by our partners, and this is to help them catch up on that and still see to it that all capital needs for the rec center will be able to be met.
Thank you. Any further discussion or comment? Will the clerk please call the roll on the ordinance?
Coin.
Yes.
Hilberg.
Yes.
Colasar.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Abstain.
Ordinance 191-13 passes 5 yeas, 1 abstention.
Ordinance 192-13, ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a purchase agreement with the Medina Masonic Temple Co. for the purchase of the property located at 140 West Liberty Street, Medina, Ohio.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Huber.
This purchase agreement would authorize the city to purchase the Masonic Temple at a purchase price of $250,000. The agreement essentially gives the city a 6-month period of time to examine the building with the help of expert assistance so as to determine whether the building can be utilized by the city in a reasonable fashion. If the determination is made that the city cannot utilize the building, then we have the right to terminate the agreement at the end of the 6-month period. The personnel at the Masonic Temple, the board, and some of the higher leadership, they have just recently changed with respect to some of the people on the board, I think, and some of the higher up leadership. So I would ask that this ordinance be passed subject to my approval, as there may be some changes coming back in this contract. And if these are material changes, what I will do is bring that back to council.
Thank you, Mr. Huber. And as everybody recalls, one of the main reasons that we are looking at the Masonic Temple building is to try to make a determination of whether or not the municipal court can be relocated in that current location. Since the current municipal court is about 13,000 square feet, has been very cramped quarters for many years. We're trying to make a decision if the relocation, in close proximity, of course, to City Hall, is a wise determination for the City Council to make. So we want to enter into this agreement to investigate those possibilities. So once we make that determination, as Mr. Huber said, we can move forward with our plan whether to relocate the municipal court at that location. Any further discussion or comment?
Mr. President, I think you're exactly right, but I think our purpose also is in good part, and one of the reasons we're having it looked at is to see if this is a very significant building in the city of Medina, and a building that would be important to preserve, to restore, and hopefully be able to reuse, and hopefully to reuse as a court. And I think that is the preservation and restoration of this building is as important as its reuse for the court.
Thank you. Any other council comments?
Mr. President, I'm going to amend my motion to make it subject to the law director's approval then.
Second the amendment.
Any other discussion or comment? Will the clerk please call the roll on the amendment?
Colasar.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hilberg.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Any further discussion on the ordinance? Will the clerk please call the roll on the ordinance as amended?
Hilberg.
Yes.
Colasar.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Ordinance 192-13 passes 6-0, subject to the law director's approval.
Ordinance 193-13, ordinance amending ordinance number 165-13, passed October 15th, 2013, relative to the payment to GenMet Construction LLC for the private home rehabilitation at 425 Orchard Lane as part of the fiscal year 2012 CHIP grant program.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion.
Mr. President,
Mr. Shields.
emergency clause has been requested. I move to add it at this time.
Second, adding the emergency clause.
Mr. Mendel.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. These, this one, 193 and 194 are both similar. They are due to change orders that need to be processed so that we can pay the contractor that's doing the work for these individual properties.
And both of these properties are covered by the 2012 CHIP grant program, so monies from the grant will pay for the improvements.
Yes.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll on the emergency clause?
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hilberg.
Yes.
Colasar.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Any further discussion on the ordinance? Clerk, please call the roll on the ordinance.
Colasar.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hilberg.
Yes.
Ordinance 193-13 passes 6-0.
Ordinance 194-13, an ordinance amending ordinance number 117-13 passed July 8th, 2013, relative to the payment to GenMet Construction LLC for the private home rehabilitation at 564 South Broadway as part of the fiscal year 2012 CHIP grant program.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion.
Mr. President,
Mr. Shields.
this one also has requested the emergency clause. I move to add it this time.
Second, adding the emergency clause.
Is there any further comment or discussion on the emergency clause? Mr. Mandela explained this one also. Clerk, please call the roll on the emergency clause.
Shields.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hilberg.
Yes.
Colasar.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Any further discussion on the ordinance? Clerk, please call the roll on the ordinance.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hilberg.
Yes.
Colasar.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Ordinance 194-13 passes 6-0.
Ordinance 195-13, ordinance amending ordinance number 213-12, passed December 10th, 2012, amendments to the 2013 budget.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Durham?
Thank you, Mr. President. There's 3 items on here. The first is to cover the purchase of the Masonic property, and I know you discussed it a minute ago, and we can still have some reviews to do, but we have to have a purchase order in order to sign this agreement. The other 2 are to appropriate monies that the Civil Service Department brought in when they had various testings, but they need to appropriate those in order to be able to spend them, and they spent more this year than they had budgeted because they had more tests than they had planned for.
Any other council comments? Discussion? Clerk, please call the roll on the ordinance.
Coin.
Yes.
Hilberg.
Yes.
Colasar.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Ordinance 195-13 passes 6-0.
Council comments?
Mr. President,
Mr. Shields?
I would like to make a announcement that next Monday night, December 2nd at 7 p.m. at Ella Canavan Elementary School, we will be having our final ward meeting of the year. This will be Ward 4, where all of council and many of the members of administration will be present. I wanted to invite anybody in Ward 4 and anybody in the city who would like to attend that evening. A very informal way to come and talk to council and the administration.
Thank you. Any other council comments?
Mr. President?
Mr. Colt? Mr. Rose? He deferred to you.
Oh, thank you. Okay, thank you, Mr. Colasar. I just wanted to wish everybody a very happy Thanksgiving. Be thankful for everything we have here in Medina. We are very, very fortunate to have the group of people we have to work with to keep this community going. Everybody in this community moving and pulling in the same direction, and it's a great place to be here, and thankful to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Colasar.
Thank you, Mr. President. A couple things. I just wanted to reach out to AJ out there. AJ, I'm also a fellow graduate of Heritage Elementary, and it's a great thing you did to raise money to support the school that we all love. So I just want to say thank you. And it's been an honor to join as a team, as we all did, to try to fight for our Heritage Elementary School, our school system, and our neighborhoods. So that was great. And since Mr. Knight's here, I also want to thank him. I know a couple little neighborhood meetings that we talked about Heritage, and I might have gave you some heat about thinking about closing it, and I want to publicly apologize, but I appreciate all your effort you've done as interim superintendent to keep this community together and keep it moving forward. So thank you very much, and happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Thank you. Any additional council comment?
Mr. President?
Mr. Lamb.
2 quick things. First of all, I'd like to compliment the Archive Commission on their work at the Engine House. The Engine House Museum was open during the entire candlelight walk, and I would like to compliment Roger Smalley in particular, who was there and was a key member of the group that got that up and running. And if you get a chance to take a look at it, it will be open this coming Saturday, November 30th, which is Shop Local Day, I believe, in Medina. It will be open from 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock. There is a beautiful depiction, a timeline depiction of the history of the city from 1818 through the present. Cindy Allman did a beautiful painting of the fire, really, that made the square the Victorian square that it is. And I know Ron Bell contributed to the design of the graphics that are displayed in the timeline. It's an exceptional experience, and the folks that I saw in the firehouse over the weekend, or in the museum rather, a lot of people don't know the history and how the restoration came about, or the history of the city, and it's a great place to visually really get a good sense of how we came to be the community, the physical community anyway that we are. And lastly, I just want to make an announcement for the Community Design Committee that will have its annual holiday house tour on December 12th, on Sunday, December 12th, from 12 to 5. And that house tour includes 9 homes, most of them in the city of Medina. And it also includes this year a tour of the county home, which will be decorated for the holiday, and we'll have entertainment and food there as well. And tickets are available at Bueller's and some other local places. So I want to let you know those 2 things.
Thank you. Any other council comments? I just have 2. Again, I'd like to thank Main Street Medina for the Candlelight Walk and the efforts that they put in organizing that and making it a success, even though it was freezing outside. It still was a success. I'd also like to thank Don Cartier. I think he assisted again in doing some illumination counts, as I'd call them, to make a determination of how many lights we have out there. And I believe this year there was over 50,000 lights down the streets and in the city. Last year I think there was 32,000, and we added about another 20,000 lights to South Court Street and the surrounding streets. And I think that's wonderful. It looks great out there, and I hope everybody enjoys it. Finally, I'd like to point out that on December 4th, coming up next week's our final budget meeting. I know everybody's a little bit upset about that, but it is our final budget meeting, and we're going to discuss the budgets with the revised numbers associated with the health care premiums and the increases associated with those premiums, so we can make a determination of how the budgets will proceed moving forward from 2014 to 2018. So if people don't have anything to do, come on down. We have a lot of fun at these budget meetings, so hopefully we'll have more people show up. And I'd also like to thank the Cub Scouts for showing up this evening. I hope you enjoyed the meeting to earn your badge. We do have a lot of fun at these council meetings, so we welcome you to come back anytime you like. Every second and fourth Monday, you can come back. So, that being said, yes, meeting is adjourned.
He's pumped.
Turn the lights on.